Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing yellow house books in Thailand. For those who are unaware, Thailand uses a system called the Tabian Baan system. It's basically a house registration book. Folks who are on a Tabian Baan are basically registered on that address. And there are a number of things associated with Tabian Baan registration that there's not really a great corollary to the Tabian Baan, for example, in the American system. But for example, Tabian Baan, that's one's legal address, so things like possibly service of process will it's not necessarily the only place one can be served, but it may be a legal address for those purposes. It may be a legal address for various other purposes when dealing with the government. But long story short, and it's also, in a sense, it's kind of a living census, where in the United States, every 10 years, they actually actively do a census. In Thailand, it's sort of done on a constant basis through this Tabian Baan system. Now, there's pros and cons to that, and that's not the purpose of this video. Thai nationals and permanent residents are registered in a blue Tabian Baan. That notes those who are resident in Thailand legally. In, I believe it was 91 or 94, Thailand amended their civil registration laws to allow foreign nationals to be on a Tabian Baan, to be on a house book. And that basically sort of changed the game a little bit. Now, foreign nationals are not considered legally resident simply because they're in what's called a yellow Tabian Baan. It's for non-immigrants, but it's for those who maintain a regular presence in Thailand. They created these house books. There's a lot of misconceptions about these. I did another video on this and went into rather great detail. I'm going to try to put the link up to the description in the channel, in the description below. I gotta go dig through and find that link. But the long story short for this video is there's a lot of misconceptions on this. Some people think it confers residence. It does not. Some people think that because you're in a yellow house book, it sort of obviates the need for you to do things like 90-day reporting or TM30. I've done a video specifically on that topic. It does not with either of those obligations. Again, that amended the house registration, the civil registration rules, didn't change anything to do with the Immigration Act, which for non-immigrants, that's what covers them. 90-day reporting, TM30 is still required. But I recently got a comment on this channel, and quoting directly from the comment, what about a yellow book? You can't own land, but you can on the house that sits on the land by having a yellow book. Is that correct? So this was a discussion on Thai property ownership, specifically the restrictions regarding foreign ownership of land in Thailand. And that is true. Foreigners cannot own land without a lot of, there may be a few limited exceptions that require a number of formalities in order for that exception to apply. But the notion of a yellow house book conferring the ability to own a house, that is not, strictly speaking, the case. And what are we talking about here? Well, the ability to have a yellow house book does not convey the right to own a house. And I think what this person is talking about is what we've talked about as bifurcation of title, which is you have title to land, to real estate, which can be restricted to foreigners. Foreigners cannot own land in Thailand. And then you may have the ability to own the house, the actual structure that sits on the land. And that's definitely possible. We have assisted a number of clients in house ownership, notwithstanding lack of land ownership. But the house book does not confer that. That one is not, sort of chained to the other. Again, it's this misconception. Really, all a yellow house book is an ID document. It's a document regarding one's address, basically one's registered address. And I should not say it's a superfluous document. Before I was a Thai citizen, I had a yellow house book. It can provide some conveniences. I found it to provide real convenience when it had to do with banking. It seemed like setting up a bank account was quite a bit easier when you had a yellow house book, as opposed to having to prove up a lot of documentation regarding one's address. So it does have its benefits, but there's a lot of misconception about this. it does not in and of itself create the possibility to own a house. One has that ability to own a structure sitting on a piece of land without a yellow house book. Just because you don't have one of those doesn't mean you can't own a structure sitting on property. So that's just one misconception. Again, I made a video regarding misconceptions on yellow house books in an immigration context. For those who are interested, I urge you to look that up, or check the search function in our channel and just search yellow house book. You'll find everything about yellow house books up to this video. But I just wanted to clarify that no, yellow house books in and of themselves do not confer the right to own the structure of the house. That exists separate and apart from that. It exists basically under the general provisions of the Thai Civil and Commercial Code and the provisions regarding movable and immovable property here in the Kingdom of Thailand.